So let me show you my newest creation. It's a box joint sled / jig. It's a sled, but it's got the jig built in for making box joints about 1/2 inch or so. Stick around and I'll show you how I did it. I locked this at the width of the miter slots. And now you'll see this protruding, that's the exact width. And I'll set that up to my table saw. I'm going to make it just a little bit narrower. Do a test run. That's a nice tight fit, and I think with a little paste wax it'll slide in there nice and easy. I must have had this oak for other runners. It's almost a perfect size. I think this is going to do it. It's probably less than a 1/16 below the top of the table saw, so that's perfect. So now I got to get another piece, and this is this 3/4 inch oak. Set my saw blade up to this. This will give me the depth into the miter slot that I need. It's perfect just below it. It's just below the top. They're a little tight, but paste wax will take care of that. Yeah, these are going to work just fine. First thing I noticed was this thing was not square. Not quite square. So let me make a couple cuts. First thing I'll do is I'll cut it down a little bit. I don't need it this big. I'll cut it down to here, and then I'll make some cuts to make this thing square. Now this thing should be square. Should be. Yep. Good. Got a few of these zero clearance inserts I got from Lee. I'll put a link in the description. He makes pretty good ones out of MDF, and this is my normal one for my normal blade and riving knife. And I've got some blanks here. I've got one cut specifically for my 3/4 inch. Now I'm going to cut one for this 15/32. So I'll show you how I do that. Make sure you're not going to hit your fence. And what I like to do is clamp a piece of scrap on there. This will help hold it down, hold the zero clearance plate down while the blade comes up through it. I don't care if it hits that board. I just want the zero clearance to stay down. So now I have a plate set up for, this will be for my box joint jig. Okay, it's time to put the runners onto the sled. Put these in the miter slot, but they're below the tabletop. So the trick is to put washers in here. Put 4 washers on each side. Now when I put the runners in here, they're just above the tabletop, just barely. It's exactly where I want it. Perfect. So I'm going to mark where these things are, right in the middle. It's a temporary bond. I don't want too much on here, get it on my table. Before I press it down, make sure it's square up against the table. And press down. Probably shouldn't have put a drop there. Dang it. Don't make that mistake. It takes about 10 seconds. Okay, we'll see how it works. Yeah, that's going to work just fine, especially when I put some paste wax on it. Just perfect. Okay, the distance of these two combined is just slightly under 7/8. So I have some 3/4 inch screws, but I think with a countersink, I stand a chance of it going all the way through, and I don't want to do that. I do have some 1/2 inch, which means I'm going to have to countersink through this 1/2 inch to get to the wood underneath. That's probably my best option. Let me give that a shot. My wife always asks me why I need so many drills. This is why. I think I need bigger than that. I think that's going to work, and I'll just put 3 on each side. So I went and milled a scrap piece of 2x3. I'm going to use that for the back fence. I'm also going to put another 2x3 behind it to act as a shield. I'll cut it to about right here. A regular blade back end, make some cuts for the keys, and then put the dado back in. I've got my regular blade in here. I'm going to do the trick that I did on my crosscut sled. Back fence nice and square. I need to know where that saw blade is, so I'll use this blade to let me know where it's at. Okay, now that I know where that saw blade is, I can set up my fence and make it square. I'm going to leave a little bit of room on the back side for this block, safety block. Make sure my hands never go inside. The outside of this block is okay. Anything further is a no-no. Put this about where I want it. Just this end. I'll clamp it. Then I'm going to put one screw on this side only. Countersink it, of course. I can't tell you how much I hate Phillips head screws now. I'm used to the Torx screws. These Phillips head, just never buy them anymore. This will rotate, and this will get it pretty darn close. Right there is where I want it. Verified it didn't move. But I'm going to go ahead and put a couple more screws in, somewhere where I know a dado will not pass. Okay, what I decided to do is put a front piece on here. This one doesn't matter that it's so square to the blade, so I'll make it flush with the plywood, be square enough. What I'll do is I'll put another scrap piece of 2x2 under here. Make sure this is flush. Again, just make sure it's nowhere near where the dado is going to go. So I'll put another one here, another one here. I don't want to glue this one down just in case I want to remove it. Okay, now it's time to bring that dado through. I set this to 1/2 inch. Now it's time to build the actual jig. Now that I got the sled made, blade is set to 1/2 inch high. Same dado stack, so it's 0.575 or so. I think that's what I wrote down. Okay, I'll put this rope in that slot, glue it up. Now, make sure the thing's square. Good. Okay, I'll let it dry. Take another break. Okay, this is dried now. Still square, thank goodness. I'm going to cut a portion of it off so I can use it as a spacer. Don't need that big of a key. Now I'll take some sandpaper and get these sharp edges down. It's time to test this thing out, see if it works. So what I'm going to do for now is clamp it down. I've got a spacer that I cut off of here, and line that up. Okay, that should do it right there. Give this a shot. Flip this over. So it fits, but it's way too tight. So let's see what's going on here. So this is why it's too tight of a fit. The finger is actually slightly bigger than the space. We need this number to be less than that number. There's a guy that has a YouTube channel that explains all that. His name is William Ng. And he goes through and explains why this finger size should be around 0.006 less than the space to get a correct fit. To get to 0.006, so I want the fingers to be this number right here, 0.549. So I need to move it by 19/1000ths. And I know my business card, because I use this on my crosscut sled. I'm going to use this to move my jig closer to the blade so I can get my fingers smaller by 17/1000ths, and then we'll do another test cut and see if that's close enough to that 19/1000ths. I've got a leftover from my crosscut sled. I knew this would come in handy. Okay, the way I'm going to move it, clamp this. Moving it this way is going to close up the gap just slightly. Is now I know exactly where 16/1000ths is. It's such a small amount. This is the way I did it with my crosscut sled as well. So I just loosen these up and then slide it just that much, just barely. So I just slid it up against that point. We'll see if that's enough. There we go, much better. First box joint with the sled. Okay, it's important before I remove any clamps that I get this thing screwed down. Thanks for sticking around to the end. It's a nice lightweight sled and jig. I'll have to figure out a way I can hang it up on my French Cleat wall. I think this will come in handy for all my drawers. I'm getting ready to build a cabinet for my drill press, so I wanted to try new joinery in my drawers. So that's why I built this. Hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe.